I am 97 years old, and I let fear decide the course of my entire life. It's a strange thing to say out loud at this age, because there isn't much left to do with the truth once you finally admit it. It just sits there, heavy, unchangeable. I don't have many people left to tell it to. Most of the ones who knew me when it mattered are gone now. So I suppose I'm saying it here to whoever might still be listening. At my age, time doesn't feel like a road anymore. It feels like something already spent. I wake up and there's a quiet understanding that there are only so many mornings left. Not in a dramatic way, just fewer. And when you reach that point, you stop pretending about certain things. You stop saying, "It worked out the way it was supposed to." You stop believing that. You start remembering things as they were. I was not a reckless man. That's how people described me. Careful, responsible, thoughtful, safe. I wore that word like it meant something good. I grew up during a time when being careful was praised. My father worked the same job for 42 years. He never once complained about it, at least not where we could hear. My mother believed stability was the closest thing to happiness you could hope for. So I learned early on that the best way to live was to avoid mistakes. That sounds reasonable when you're young. It sounds wise. But I didn't understand that avoiding mistakes is not the same as living well. I only understood that much later. In my 20s, I had chances. I see that now. At the time, they didn't feel like chances. They felt like risks. There was a job offer in another city. It wasn't certain. The pay was lower at the start, but there was talk of growth. I remember holding the letter in my hands, reading it over and over. I also remember the feeling in my chest, tight, uncertain. I thought about what could go wrong. What if it didn't work out? What if I failed? What if I had to come back embarrassed, starting over? So I stayed. I told myself it was the smart decision. My parents approved. My friends said it made sense. I convinced myself it was what a sensible man would do. I built a life out of decisions like that. I worked in an office where the days were predictable, same desk, same routine. I learned the systems. I became reliable. People liked that about me. They said I could be counted on. I married a woman named Helen. She was kind, gentle in the way she spoke. We met through a friend, nothing dramatic. It was comfortable from the beginning. There was another woman before her. I don't talk about this often. Her name was Lila. She laughed easily. She asked questions I didn't know how to answer. She talked about traveling, about seeing places I had never even considered. She made me feel something I couldn't quite explain at the time. Restless, maybe. Alive, in a way that didn't feel entirely safe. When she asked me if I would ever consider leaving the city, trying something different, I hesitated. I told her I had responsibilities, that I needed stability, that it wasn't the right time. The truth is, I was afraid. Afraid of the unknown, afraid of losing control, afraid of choosing something I couldn't predict. She didn't argue with me, she just nodded. A few months later, she left, took a job somewhere else. I remember the day she told me. I remember the quiet in her voice. I told myself it was for the best, that we wanted different things, that I had made the mature choice. I believed that for a long time. I married Helen 2 years later. We had a good life, by most definitions. A house, 2 children, regular dinners, holidays that followed the same patterns each year. I went to work. I came home. I fixed things around the house. I paid the bills on time. I did what I was supposed to do, and for many years that felt like enough. Fear doesn't always feel like fear when you're living inside it. Sometimes it feels like discipline, like responsibility, like being a good person. I didn't avoid big disasters, that's true, but I also avoided anything that might have required courage. There were small moments, invitations I declined, conversations I postponed. I told myself there would be time later. There is always a later when you're young. Helen used to ask me to take time off work. Just a few days. Go somewhere together. Nothing extravagant. I would say, maybe next month. Things are busy right now. Next month became next year. Next year became something we stopped talking about. It wasn't that I didn't care. That's the part that still bothers me. I did care. I just let fear speak louder than anything else. Fear of falling behind at work. Fear of spending money unnecessarily. Fear of stepping outside the routine I had built so carefully. My children grew up the way children do, gradually, and then all at once. I was there, physically. I attended the important things, school events, birthdays, but I was often distracted, thinking about work, thinking about what needed to be done next. There are gaps in my memory now, not because I'm old, but because I wasn't fully there when those moments happened. I remember fragments, a soccer game, my son looking toward the stands. I was there, but I don't remember what he did on the field. A school play, my daughter in a costume. I remember clapping, but not the performance. I thought presence meant attendance. I didn't understand the difference. Years passed like that, quietly, predictably. No major failures, no dramatic losses, just a steady accumulation of days. That's the thing about a life guided by fear. It doesn't collapse, it narrows. You don't notice it at first, the narrowing. You just keep choosing the safer option, again and again, until one day you realize there are entire parts of life you never even stepped into. Helen got sick when we were in our 60s. It wasn't sudden. It started with small things, fatigue, a cough that didn't go away, doctors, tests. I remember sitting in a chair while someone explained something I couldn't fully process. I remember nodding. We had time, they said, but not as much as we had once assumed. That was the first time I felt something break through the structure I had built. Fear again. But this time, it wasn't about making the wrong choice. It was about running out of time to make any choice at all. Helen changed during those months, not in a way that was easy to describe. She became quieter, but also more direct. She would look at me for a long time before speaking. One evening, she asked me, "Were you happy?" It was such a simple question. I didn't know how to answer it. I started to say yes. It was the natural response, the expected one, but something stopped me. I think she saw it. She nodded before I could finish. "I was," she said, "mostly." There was no accusation in her voice. That made it harder. A few weeks later, she asked me if there was anything I wished we had done differently. I said no. I lied. Not to her, to myself. She passed away on a quiet morning. No drama, no final speech. Just a stillness that settled into the room. I remember sitting there afterward, not knowing what to do with my hands. We had been married for over 40 years. And in that moment, I realized how much of it I had spent holding back. Not from her exactly, from life itself. After she was gone, the house felt different, larger somehow, empty in a way that wasn't just about her absence. It was filled with all the things we had postponed, trips we never took, conversations we never finished, simple moments we assumed we would get around to. That was the moment of clarity. Not sudden, not overwhelming, just undeniable. There would be no later, not anymore. I tried in the years after to do some of the things I had avoided, small things, visiting places nearby, calling people I hadn't spoken to in years. But it felt different, not because it was too late to do them, but because it was too late to do them with the people who mattered. That's what fear took from me. Not opportunities, people, moments shared with them. The version of myself that could have been present. My children have their own lives now. They visit when they can. They are kind to me. But there is a distance that I can't close, not because of anything they did, because of all the small absences I created over the years, absences that seemed harmless at the time. I thought I was protecting something, my career, my stability, my image of being responsible, but I was slowly giving something away, piece by piece, and I didn't even see it happening. Now, at 97, there isn't much left to protect, no career to maintain, no expectations to meet, just time. And even that is limited. I sit by the window most mornings. I watch people pass by. You can tell a lot about a person by how they move. Some walk quickly, like they're trying to stay ahead of something. Others move slower, looking around, noticing things. I wonder sometimes which one I was. I think I already know. If you're listening to me now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't have that kind of authority, and I don't believe in giving advice as if life follows instructions. I can only tell you what I see now from where I'm sitting. Fear is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It sounds like reason. It sounds like patience. It tells you there will be time, that you can wait, that you can choose later. And most of the time, you believe it, because it doesn't feel like you're losing anything. But you are. You're losing the chance to be fully there, to say things when they matter, to go when it's still possible, to choose something that isn't guaranteed. I spent a lifetime choosing what felt safe, and I ended up with a life that was intact, but not full. There's a difference. You don't notice it when you're busy. You notice it when the busyness is gone, when the house is quiet, when the people you meant to share things with are no longer there. If I could sit across from my younger self, I don't think I would lecture him. He wouldn't listen anyway. I would probably just ask him a question, something simple. Who are you waiting for? Because that's what I was always doing, waiting, for the right time, for the fear to pass, for certainty. None of it came. Time just moved forward, and I moved with it, carefully, cautiously, missing things I didn't even realize I was missing. I don't know how many days I have left. It could be a few. It could be fewer. I'm not afraid of that part, not anymore. What I feel is something quieter, a kind of understanding. This is the life I built. These were my choices. Or maybe, more accurately, these were the choices I avoided. I think about Helen sometimes, the way she looked at me in those last months. I think she understood something before I did. Maybe she always did. If there's anything left to say, it's this. Not as advice, just as something I've learned too late to use. Life doesn't ask you to be fearless, but it does ask you to notice when fear is making the decisions for you. I didn't notice. Or maybe I did and I chose not to look too closely. Either way, the result is the same. A long life, a quiet one, and a realization that came after there was no time left to act on it. I am 97 years old, and this is what remains.